You are the first audience to see it. Hopefully you will enjoy it. We've managed to get it down to roughly 90 minutes, plus there will be a short intermission so you can buy snacks and 4 or 5 in the second half. So it won't be an overly long evening. We've got the story zipping through all the familiar things you know from the famous novel. At this time, I think you know what I'm going to ask you. Please turn off your cell phones. There were no cell phones back in Jane Austen's time, so if they go off during the performances, our actors might be very confused because they are so in character that they don't know what electricity is. We just want to quickly thank the library and Pam and her staff of volunteers. If at the end of the show you think to yourself, wow, that was so much better than I thought, please feel free to give an extra donation to the library to, signify the amount that you enjoyed it. If you liked it less than you thought, we don't want to know. No refunds, that's right. So with that said, please enjoy Pride and Prejudice.
Pride and Prejudice, Act 1. We open on several small groupings, the Bingley and Darcy families at Netherfield, the Bennets at Longbourn, the regimental soldiers in their barracks, Charlotte Lucas at home, and the grand estate of Rosings Park.
I don't understand.
There's nothing to understand.
I have just taken on the lease of this grand home. Netherfield is magnificent, and yet...
It is not what you want.
And what is that, Miss Bingley? If you truly know so well your brother's desire.
Ownership of a large estate. You must provide a legacy for your family in your old age.
But Mr. Bingley, you are such a young man.
A single man.
In possession of a large fortune.
You must be in want.
Oh, wife. Mother, please, if you just have patience, we will all find husbands in due time.
Oh, Jane, as the eldest daughter, you cannot afford to be thinking of patience.
And until then, we are happy as we are.
Happy? Lizzie, who said anything about happy? I just want you married.
I will marry any man who gives me a library and a music room.
I will marry any man who lets me visit my sisters as often as I'd like.
I will marry any man.
That's the spirit, Lydia. Jane, Lizzie, you could learn something from her.
Jane, Lizzie, please do not learn anything from Lydia.
My poor strangers, 5 unmarried daughters and no inheritance waiting for them.
I am very well acquainted with your nerves. I feel as though they're my own dear friends, for how often you mentioned through all the years of our marriage.
There is a new tenant at Netherfield, a young man, and he is not married. We must introduce ourselves and entice him to come to the ball in the village.
It's already done, Mrs. Bennet. I've taken the time to walk over and introduce him. And while there, I mentioned that he and his party would be very welcome at the Merrington Assembly Hall.
It would certainly be a change of pace from the usual guests of the village dances.
Normally our only chances at husbands in Meryton would be school teachers,
No money.
shopkeepers,
No money.
or clergymen.
No money. Jane needs a wealthy husband. We must make the best impression on this new tenant. But maybe you, Lizzie. A clergyman could give you a comfortable home.
And a comfortable dream as he speaks me into sleep all my life. No, Mother, I need a bit more.
Excitement. All this standing in line and marching back and forth and polishing our shoes. I want more.
Ah, too young again. You must pace yourself, Mr. Wickham.
Give me dinners and dancing. Give me good wine and better women.
You have all the time in the world. Serve your time in the regiment, and then find a wife later.
No, Colonel Forster. It will be quite a long time before George Wickham is...
Settled is all I want to be in my life. I do not ask for great romance and grand gestures. I have not set my sights so high I will come crashing down. I expect simple, and I will receive simple. I do not need...
Extravagance is nothing to be ashamed of.
Absolutely not, Lady Catherine. You are exceptionally wise to say so.
You must always demand the best. It is why I have chosen such a splendid husband for my daughter. I am the Right Honourable Lady Catherine de Bourgh, and my daughter must marry a man who befits her high station. I am aware of only one man of suitable breeding who possesses an estate of sufficient size.
Lady Anne is a rare woman. It is a miracle of heaven that there is even one single man worthy of her.
One single man in possession of a large fortune, who must be in want of a wife.
Come now, you keep us waiting.
The only son of my late sister, my nephew.
Mr. Darcy?
Mr. Bingley. The village dance in the Barracks and Assembly Hall takes shape around them.
Miss Bennet and Miss Bennet, it is a pleasure to meet you. And my sister, Miss Bingley.
Have you settled in well at Netherfield? We were quite pleased to hear the estate has been leased.
It will serve for now.
We are not far from Netherfield at Longbourn.
Ah, yes. I believe I have met your father already. He mentioned that there are several daughters.
5.
Goodness, all those girls? And none of you married?
No, none of us married.
Pity. We must be getting on. Come, Mr. Darcy, you may walk with me. Charles, are you coming?
Caroline takes Darcy's arm and leads him away, followed by Bingley, who continues looking at Jane, walking straight at Caroline as they exit.
He is not what I expected.
No. You heard Lamar say a bachelor had taken up Netherfield, and here he is, a bachelor.
He is quite handsome.
And he seems to like you.
Does he?
Oh, Jane, you could see it plainly. His sister had to drag him away from you.
I cannot deny he did seem reluctant to leave.
Believe me, he will be the first name on your dance card. As for his friend, though,
Mr. Darcy.
yeah, I'm quite sure he did not say more than 2 words to us.
He is also quite handsome.
I will hold my judgment on whether or not he is handsome until after I have engaged in a conversation. A man who speaks poorly, no matter how handsome, will never be attractive to me.
Speaking of attractive men, it seems our littlest sisters have found the soldiers.
Oh dear, they have never met a man in uniform whom they did not deem immediately marriageable.
The next thing you know, they will be following them across the country on their tours.
Mamma would faint, I'm sure.
The music begins.
Are you ready for the sing? Mr. Bingley is coming for you.
I see I am not the only unpartnered young woman at the present moment. Though, perhaps I should withhold the word young.
Withhold the word young? Do you think I would choose as my closest friend an elderly woman nearer the grave than the cradle? No, Charlotte, you are very young indeed.
If you say so, Eliza. I may still be young enough to be your friend, but I'm far too old to be your unmarried friend.
So there are new men tonight. The regiment is here, plus Mr. Bingley and Mr. Darcy from Netherfield. Have you been introduced yet?
My father made the introduction. He must be hoping someone here could find me pretty enough to take as a wife.
You are prettier than anyone else they could hope to find.
Not prettier than Jane.
My sister was blessed with a beauty the rest of us can never compare to.
And she is only 22.
You mustn't worry, Charlotte. We will all be dancing at your wedding very soon.
The music ends.
Lizzie! Oh, Lizzie, did you see us? See you? And how we missed you.
There was no need for candles tonight for how bright a smile you had on.
Mr. Bingley is wonderful.
You are very lucky, Jane. I believe every young woman here tonight is jealous of you.
I wouldn't want anyone to be jealous of me.
How like you. Always to be thinking of others instead of your own happiness.
You are very lucky to have caught his interest so deeply.
Be quiet, he's coming near.
You shouldn't do that, Charles.
But why not? I would like to dance with Miss Bennet again.
If you stay with the same partner for too long, you will offend the others.
But if I leave Miss Bennet, then I will offend her.
She will recover.
And you, Mr. Darcy, who will you dance with?
You've captured the only attractive woman in the room.
I will agree that Miss Bennet's beauty is superior to all others, but her sister is also quite attractive.
You flatter her, Charles. Anyone can see the girl is plain.
She is.
She is not plain, is she?
She is tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt me. I will dance the next song with Miss Bingley.
And now you flatter me, Mr. Darcy. I will happily be your dance partner for the whole evening.
I said nothing of the whole evening. One dance, and then I shall have had my fill.
Hadn't you heard that there are not enough men to go around?
One dance, Bingley. I can bear no more than that.
They exit.
Lizzie,
proud coming from such a high background.
Well, I may have forgiven his pride, but he not wounded mine. Let us not think of him one moment longer. We must find Lydia and Kitty. Who knows what trouble they are causing with those soldiers?
I have never known any two girls so easily distracted by a sharply pressed uniform.
Good evening, Colonel Forster.
Good evening, ladies. Are you enjoying yourself tonight?
Very much. The dancing has been wonderful.
You seem a bit neglected, Colonel.
Ah, yes. Well, I mentioned my wife, and so...
Please allow me to apologize for my sisters. They are still quite young.
No apology is needed. In fact, I'm almost glad you dodged their attentions. It can be exhausting to be young and searching for a partner.
I quite agree with you.
The music begins again.
Well, don't let me keep you. I believe you are also in demand tonight.
Please excuse me. I see Mr. Bingley coming this way.
Jane exits.
Miss Lucas, would you care to join me for this round?
Are you sure your wife won't mind?
I am confident she would not want you to be left all alone.
Then I will happily accept.
They go to join the dance. Darcy turns away from the crowd at the same time Elizabeth turns back to it. They come face to face for a brief moment, then cross to opposite sides as the dance begins. Transition to the Lucas Lodge, another ball already in progress.
Have you seen our new ribbons, Charlotte? We got them especially for tonight.
I'm glad my father hosted a ball so that you could wear them. They are very lovely.
Lovely to fetch, enough to fetch me a husband, I know. Why all the concern about ribbons and husbands?
You are so young, and with the three of us ahead of you, you are in no rush to be married.
I've already spent 15 years of my life unmarried. I will not spend another 15 without a husband. I will sooner die. I cannot end up like Charlotte.
Charlotte is a very dear friend, and you've no reason to insult her.
And you never know, she may be the first among us to receive a marriage proposal.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Nor I. We also how often Mr. Bingley was staring at Jane during the last ball. He scarcely danced with anyone else.
It was like a scene from a novel.
And he will be in attendance again tonight.
Yes, we have had lunch with his sister this week, and she mentioned they would come.
Why didn't they invite me and Kitty?
Because they see you as children. How many times must I remind you of your age?
I'm quite content to be left off the invitation. I do not believe Miss Bingley has read a single novel in her life. We would have nothing to talk about.
She does have pretty ribbons, though. We could talk about those.
That sounds right.
Bingley and Caroline enter.
Thank heavens Mr. Darcy isn't with them. I don't think I could stand another ball in his company.
Darcy enters.
Well, I suppose my good fortune has limits.
I only wish there was someone here for you. I would hate to see you sit out from the dancing again.
It's better to not dance at all than to dance with Mr. Darcy.
Miss Bennet, it is so lovely to see you again. And Miss Elizabeth?
Tell me, Miss Lucas, when do you expect the dancing to begin?
It should be any moment now.
I believe my sister Mary has been at the piano.
Oh, is that what that was? I thought a child had found it by mistake.
Miss Bennet, I would be honored if you would join me for the first dance.
Surely you prefer to dance with Charlotte. She is the hostess after all.
My apologies. Miss Lucas, would you?
I would be delighted.
And I would be delighted for a drink.
May I join you, Miss Bailey?
Charlotte and Bingley go to dance. Caroline and Jane exit. Darcy has not stopped looking at Elizabeth, but uncomfortable as a grate.
Good evening, Mr. Darcy.
Good evening, Miss Bennet. Would you like to dance?
I would, but not with you. I do not care to dance with men who find me merely tolerable. Excuse me.
Elizabeth exits. Darcy stares at her as she goes. Longbourn. The daughters are scattered around the room, engaged in different activities. Mrs. Bennet rushes in with a letter already torn open.
A letter! Are you trying to send me to an early grave? I hope one day to meet our Lord in heaven, but I will not go to the side until I've seen each of you blessed with a husband of your own. The wealthier, the better.
Is it for Jane?
What? Oh, yes, thank you, Mary. The letter is for Jane.
I see it has remained intact and unopened.
Miss Bennet, my brother and I invite you to come dine at Netherfield today.
Tell her how greatly I look forward to seeing her again. How delighted I am to engage her in conversation. How pleased I would be if she agreed to come.
Please reply with your answer.
I'll call for the carriage. It looks as though it will rain.
No, no carriage. She will go on horseback. Then, when it begins to rain, she will be unable to return and must stay at Netherfield until tomorrow.
That is a very cunning plan.
You can wear my new
And
bonnet.
I wanted to wear that morning. It's for Jane.
Lizzie, why are you still standing here? Go help Jane dress.
Surely she can manage without my help.
Just go!
Shall I stay here then?
Sounds of a rainstorm. After a moment of stormy weather, Mrs. Bennet bursts in with another letter.
It's terrible! Girls, come quickly!
Is she married already? So unfair. I wanted to be the first one married.
What is it this time, Mama?
It's Jane.
She's married.
No, Lydia, stop that! She is not married. She stayed at Netherfield as planned, but woke this morning chilled to the bone.
I suppose that can be expected from traveling through the rain on horseback rather than a carriage.
She will die!
Elizabeth snatches the paper.
It is only a chest cold, but I fear I shall not be home for several more days.
She will have to remain at Netherfield until she recovers.
Oh,
I must go to her. I cannot let her stay there without a kind face.
Miss Bingley can be kind.
Miss Bingley is not family.
But she will be soon.
Netherfield. Caroline is playing cards, Darcy nearby reading a book. Elizabeth enters. Darcy springs to his feet immediately, dropping his book. He picks it up, embarrassed.
Darling Eliza, you should have written that you were coming.
It's only 3 miles, and the weather is much more pleasant now.
Do you mean to say you what?
I enjoy the fresh air. I will never be disappointed for the chance of a walk.
Yes, I like walks.
Jane is upstairs. You are welcome to join me at cards and visit with her later.
No, thank you. I will go up first and visit after.
Elizabeth exits.
Did you see her skirts? They were as black as night. She must have walked through a whole field of mud.
I thought she looked well enough.
Have you seen Miss Elizabeth?
We have seen more than we needed. This is the family you have chosen to attach yourself to, Charles?
Well, I admit the mother and younger girls are a bit common, but Miss Bennet and Miss Elizabeth are both very mannerly.
Do you not find the dirt on her clothes sufficient to lower her status?
Was there dirt on her clothes? I cannot say I noticed.
The younger Miss Bennet has many admirable qualities. She cares deeply for her sisters. She's quite handsome, very witty, and full of spirit.
Elizabeth returns. Darcy leaps to his feet, the book falling once again. He stares at it for a moment, but does not pick it up this time.
Thank you, Mr. Bingley, for taking such good care of Jane. She says she may feel well enough to come down to dinner this evening.
It is my absolute pleasure to have her here. Oh, well, I should clarify. It is not a pleasure that she is ill. Her presence at Netherfield is a pleasure, as Miss Bennet herself is a pleasant person. Her illness is unpleasant, as she is made uncomfortable by it.
Miss Elizabeth, you must join us for luncheon, then cards and games before dinner this evening.
Of course.
Just through here. The gentlemen will follow presently. I believe they enjoy the custom of ladies walking in front. Not due to any politeness, but rather for reasons that I shan't say in mixed company.
The women exit.
Shall we go to lunch?
Darcy picks up the book and they exit. Sounds of a meal, laughter and chatter, nighttime crickets, and morning birds playing the black house. Lights up with Darcy writing a letter, Bingley at the card table, Caroline and Jane sewing, and Elizabeth reading a book.
Tell us, Mr. Darcy, do you prefer a woman who does needlepoint or a woman who plays the pianoforte?
I prefer a woman who reads.
Elizabeth closes her book.
I prefer a woman with a kind laugh.
Miss Elizabeth, you have mentioned your love of walking. Shall we take a stroll around the room?
Caroline takes Elizabeth's arm and they begin to walk a lap around the room. Jane goes to Bingley's game.
What beautiful attractions are on view tonight. Do you not think so, gentlemen?
Very beautiful indeed.
And Mr. Darcy, would you like to join us?
I would not, nor would you like me to. For either you are discussing secrets to which I am not invited, or else you are aware that your figures appear at the best while in movement. Therefore I shall remain in my seat, and in my all the better from here.
Oh, you are wicked. Such a scandalous remark. Is it not, Eliza?
We must find some fault in Mr. Darcy to tease him.
him fall. That way, we may return fire with fire.
That is impossible. I would not know where to begin in teasing Mr. Darcy, as I believe he would profess himself to be without fault.
I have professed no such thing. No man is without fault, and I confess to each of mine freely.
And what would those be?
First of all, I find it difficult to forgive quickly an offense against me. My temper could perhaps be called resentful, and my good opinion once lost is lost forever.
That is hardly a flaw worth teasing, but rather the quality of the true gentleman.
So your faulty character, then, is to be inclined to hate everybody you meet.
And yours is to misunderstand.
Goodness, all this talk of personal defense. Shall we have some music?
Caroline goes to the piano and begins to play.
Miss Bennet, would you like to dance? I recall that you enjoy it.
I wish for me to say yes, so that you could spend the evening sullen over having suffered through a dance with me. I will not give you the satisfaction of your dissatisfaction, and will instead take my own satisfaction in refusing you.
Elizabeth goes to the card table.
May I join your game?
Longbourn, Jane and Elizabeth enter.
Oh, Jane, you're home. Don't you think you should have stayed a few more days?
I am feeling very well. There is no reason for me to stay any longer.
Ah, Jane's home.
Is that all? Our poor girl has been at death's door for the better part of a week, saved only by the generosity of one Mr. Bingley, and has finally returned to us, and all you can say is, Jane's home.
Nice to see you. Well, I'm glad you both are here. I was coming to speak to Mrs. Bennet about a particular subject, but it concerns the two of you as well.
And me?
Ah, Mary, you gave me a fright. I hadn't seen you.
I've been here all day.
Have you? Oh, well, at any rate, my cousin, Mr. Collins, will be coming to stay with us for a time.
Is this the Mr. Collins who is the rector at Rosings Park?
It is indeed. And not only that, but also the Mr. Collins who is the heir to this estate. It is he who will have the power to decide whether any of you may continue to live here after I have gone on.
So we must ensure Mr. Collins remains on friendly terms with us.
It seems unfair that a distant cousin should inherit our home simply because he's a man and we are not.
Well said, Mary.
That may be true, but it does not change the reality of the situation. Mr. Collins has a charming parsonage, but more importantly, his patroness, the good Lady Catherine de Bourgh, she will keep him very comfortable. And Mrs. Bennet, you may wish to pay close attention to this bit. He is looking for a wife.
A wife? Oh, Jane, we must make haste with our plans with Mr. Bingley. Mr. Bennet, you must introduce our Lizzie to Mr. Collins at the earliest moment. Oh, 2 daughters married. Not even met him yet. And I'm not sure I should enjoy being the wife of a clergyman. Of course you will.
I would not mind being the wife of a clergyman. They're good mannered, enjoy music, and do quite a good bit of reading. Religious text rather than novels, but I shouldn't mind that too badly.
That's enough, Mary. This is not about you. It is decided. Mr. Collins will be Lizzie's husband. Music. We must prepare once, all of you, upstairs.
Time passes. The family enters. Collins and Charlotte are with them.
Tonight's meal was simply divine, Mrs. Bennet, and you may rest assured that I am qualified to call it by such a descriptor. As a man of the cloth, it is my duty, nay, my responsibility, to be most intimately familiar with the lines between things that are and are not of a divine nature.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. I shall pass along your compliments to the kitchen staff.
I was surprised to discover you employed a cook. With 5 daughters and no sons, I had not thought there would be sufficient provisions to hire a kitchen staff.
We manage comfortably enough.
Longbourn is a fine house. You know, the carpeting here in the drawing room reminds me of a piece Lady Catherine de Bourgh purchased many years ago. It has since gone out of style, and she has relocated it to the servants' quarters, where it is much better suited.
Do you enjoy being a clergyman, Mr. Collins?
I consider myself truly blessed to have been chosen by Lady Catherine de Bourgh to be her personal rector. I look forward to one day introducing her to my wife, once I have found her. She must be handsome, patient, conversational, of a godly nature, and above all else, she must be able to earn the high esteem of Lady Catherine de Bourgh.
That is quite a lengthy list.
It is a very important decision.
I think you are very wise, Mr. Collins, to be so discerning.
I agree with Jane. You would do well to find a wife who suits you.
And the Lady Catherine de Bourgh.
Oh, it would be a modern marriage. The rector, his wife, and his patroness.
Lady Catherine de Bourgh would be very much enamored of your humour, Miss Elizabeth. Your background is less than what my patroness would desire. However, your wit and cheerfulness would surely please her.
What an excellent compliment, Mr. Collins. My sister is grateful for your words.
Any kindness I have shown pales in comparison to the kindness and generosity of Lady Catherine de Bourgh. Now, I believe we have discussed the great lady to a degree appropriately fitting for her station, and perhaps some entertainment is in order.
Oh, yes, I agree.
Dear young cousins, will you now gather around me so I may read to you?
Oh, reading. I enjoy books, Mr. Collins.
Oh, I have brought with me here a small volume of sermons.
Do we not have a novel?
A novel? Goodness no! Sermons are the best way to expand the mind, heart, and spirit.
Lydia, have you heard any news of the soldiers?
I wait to read them, yes.
Do you not wish to hear these sermons?
We hear sermons enough on Sundays. The regiment is a more immediate concern.
Oh, Mr. Bennet, if your doctors are incapable of concentrating on these magnificent sermons, then I shall not waste my time in trying to educate them. Shall we play a game? Backgammon, perhaps?
Certainly, Mr. Collins. Let us go through.
These door handles are not in fashion, did you know? Not to worry, I will have them replaced.
The men exit.
Would it have been torture to listen to Mr. Collins read a sermon?
Yes, I believe it would have been.
Lydia, be kind.
One of you girls must marry Mr. Collins if any of us can hope to live in this house for a moment longer.
Mamma, you cannot possibly imagine that any of us would want to be his wife.
It is not about what you want.
I did not find him so bad.
We will invite Mr. Collins to the Netherfield ball, where you will all behave more like Charlotte. Lizzie, once Jane is married, your next in line, Mr. Collins, is an excellent match, and you will not spoil that.
Netherfield Ball. The Bennet family and Collins gather in a small group. After a moment, Forster and Wickham enter.
Here's Colonel Forster, and there's a new one with him.
I feel as though there is something occurring to which I am not a party.
We have all become quite friendly with the regiment stationed in this town. That's Colonel Forster. Though I'm not sure who the other one is. We've not seen him before.
He's very handsome.
And he keeps looking at us. Do you think he admires my ribbons?
No, he's like loves he is admiring.
Please, let us not offend Mr. Collins by drawing their attention.
They're coming over.
I would rather not bear witness to my sister's embarrassment. Is there a piano nearby?
Miss Bennet, Sister Bennet.
We've been missing you all very much.
May I introduce our cousin, Mr. Collins?
And you allow me to present Mr. Wickham, newly posted with us.
How do you do?
Yes. How do you do?
Very well. And may I present Miss Jane Bennet, Miss Elizabeth Bennet, Miss Kitty Bennet, and
Miss Lydia Bennet. We are charmed to meet you.
Charmed.
As am I. I apologize. There are so many of you, I cannot keep the names straight. Which sister are you?
I'm Miss Elizabeth.
It is my pleasure to meet you.
Bingley and Darcy enter.
Miss Bennet, it is lovely to see you back in good health.
Mr. Bingley.
ah, Mr. Bingley, Mr. Darcy. May I present Mr.
We are
York?
already acquainted.
Are you indeed?
Yes. Well, Miss Bennet, I should be honored if you would join me for the first 2 dances.
I would like that very much.
And I shall engage Miss Elizabeth for the first 4 dances of the evening.
4.
We have been practicing our dances all night.
Yes, we have. Every night.
Anyone would like to dance with us?
We would love to dance.
Bingley.
Well, I'm afraid we do have other pressing matters to attend to for now. I shall return for you when the dancing begins.
Bingley and Darcy exit. They all split into small groups.
Your younger sisters seem to be in quite high spirits.
We do love a party.
And you, do you love a party?
All young ladies love a party. And Netherfield is a lovely home. My sisters and I have visited here with the Bingleys a number of times. Mr. Darcy is usually in attendance as well.
Ah, Darcy.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Wickham, but you do not seem entirely fond of the gentleman. You may speak freely. I confess I find Mr. Darcy altogether unpleasant.
The word unpleasant is, I'm afraid, nowhere near strong enough to describe him.
What is your acquaintance with him?
If you would believe it, we grew up together as friends. My father was his father's steward, and as part of the elder Mr. Darcy's estate, certain promises were made to him. And yet, the prideful young Mr. Darcy saw fit to refuse those promises. The parsonage his father promised me was given to another.
How terrible!
With no other prospects, I was forced to become a soldier. I should have had great comfort in my life as the rector of Pemberley Parsonage, but instead, I find myself utterly lacking in the benefits which were owed to me by old Mr. Darcy's will.
It does not surprise me in the least to learn the truth of Mr. Darcy's character.
He is as unpleasant as you believe, and full of pride. He could not live with the fact that his own father preferred me, and thus sought revenge by taking away what was rightfully mine. May he go to the devil, he and his sister both. She is just as prideful as he.
Pains me to hear of your misfortune. I do hope you can find some comfort in your regimental posting.
The music begins.
I must excuse myself, Mr. Wickham. My cousin is calling for me.
Of course. I hope your dance card is not filled for the evening.
Only the first 4 dances, and then I am free.
I shall find you then. Good evening, Miss Elizabeth.
Oh, Mr. Bennet, is it not delightful? All of our girls will soon be married before long, and Lizzie married to Mr. Collins. I am certain he will allow us to remain at Longbourn.
I cannot imagine they would be a good match.
He is a gentleman. He has an esteemed parsonage, all his own, and a patroness. Lizzie is pretty. What more match would they be?
Is that all that is required? Him to be a gentleman and she to be pretty?
With 5 daughters, yes, that is all that is required.
Darcy approaches Elizabeth, who is distracted.
Miss Bennet, may I invite you to dance?
Yes. Oh.
The dance begins.
I did not expect you to agree.
I answered the question before noticing who had asked it. I didn't intend to refuse you.
What good fortune then that you were distracted?
There was a time Mr. Wickham thought he had good fortune before you gave away his inheritance.
Miss Bennet, I assure you.
There's no need to assure me of anything. I already knew you to be proud beyond your station, and now, with Mr. Wickham's testimony, I also know you to be vengeful and jealous. Oh, is that funny to you?
It was Mr. Wickham who behaved badly, not I.
Do you deny giving away the position your father had intended for him?
Had he acted in better conscience, he would have not suffered the consequences he brought on to himself. He has no one to blame.
Well, you may tell yourself whatever you wish, Mr. Darcy, if it helps to assuage your own guilt. But do not allow your pride to blind yourself to the reality of the harm you had done unto the gentleman.
Gentlemen.
Perhaps it would be best if we pass the remainder of the dance in silence.
They finish the dance and go their separate ways.
Eliza, that appeared almost painful.
With all the truth in my heart, I say that is the most disagreeable gentleman I have ever met.
Oh, good evening, ladies. Are you enjoying the festivities? I am more used to the surroundings of Rosings Park. That is, the grand estate of my patroness, Lady Catherine de Bourgh. And so, my expectations of Netherfield have been set quite low. Now that I am here, I find myself pleasantly surprised by its charm.
Excuse me, Mr. Collins.
Elizabeth goes to Mrs. Bennet. Darcy and Caroline are within earshot, which Elizabeth notices.
A spring wedding would be glorious, don't you think, Lizzie? I will take Jane shopping tomorrow.
Are you certain you should be speaking of such things that are not yet planned?
Dear Lizzie, it is near as settled. You have seen how much Mr. Bingley dotes on our Jane.
This should be discussed elsewhere, not in Mr. Bingley's own home. We do not wish to offend our host.
Offend our host? What nonsense. He could never be offended by us simply discussing Jane's future.
Oh, Mr. Wickham.
Have you noticed the new ribbons around
my hair today? Aren't they just so delightful? Kitty, those are my ribbons!
Kitty! Lydia! You'll come back here at once and mind your manners!
Mrs. Bennet exits after them, followed by Jane.
What a charming family.
Mary sits at the piano and begins to sing badly.
Are you sure, Charles, the girl is worth all this? After all, she can hardly meet your eyes. In conversation, she looks down at her shoes as if they are the most fascinating objects in the room. And I have seen her shoes. They are nothing to be fascinated by. You must be certain of the girl's affections and feelings.
Well, I believe that...
And you, Mr. Darcy, you have attempted to engage the next sister at each ball we have attended, and she has refused your invitation to dance on every occasion.
She accepted me tonight.
And did you have a pleasant conversation with her?
I dare say such behavior would never occur at Rosings Park, the home of my patroness.
Lady Catherine de Bourgh.
Mr. Collins, would you care to sit with me? I would love to hear your thoughts on last Sunday's sermon.
I would be delighted, Miss Lucas.
Lights fade out on the party. Longboard, Mr. Bennet enters, sees the room is empty, and joyfully sits down to read. As soon as he opens his book, Kitty and Lydia enter.
I'm quite confident, Lydia, that those were my ribbons.
No, Kitty, they were my ribbons. You stole them.
Why would I steal yours when I have my own ribbons?
I cannot know the inner workings of your mind.
Why has no one written to compliment me on my singing? I thought I did very well.
You sounded like a cat.
Well, Lydia was as beautiful as Kitty is unfeeling.
Oh, Mr. Bennet! Thank heavens I found you. You must come at once.
What's that?
It's Mr. Collins. He has requested to speak with Elizabeth! Oh!
To marry her?
Of course to marry her! What else would you want? Clear the room, it must be perfect.
Mrs. Bennet ushers the girls and Mr. Bennet out, then leads in Collins.
Mr. Collins, please wait here. Dear, sweet Elizabeth will be with you presently. Elizabeth, for heaven's sake, come here at once.
Ah, Miss Elizabeth, it is so good to see you looking so well.
Yes, a lovely day we are having.
The day is not half so lovely as yourself. In any event, you must be wondering why I've come to see you.
I should think just a friendly visit between friends to speak of friendship and friendly things.
I dare say my intentions stray beyond the realm of friendship.
Do they?
Indeed, Miss Elizabeth, you must know that you're as charming as you are handsome, as modest as you are clever, as lovely as you are lovely.
Thank you.
Lady Catherine de Bourgh has entrusted me to be her rector and to guide the flock of the Hunsford parsonage. I have therefore taken it upon myself to marry, in order that I may become a more aspirational figure in the community. It wouldn't do to have an unmarried rector.
Oh, wouldn't it?
And I have decided, Miss Elizabeth, that your many admirable qualities endear yourself to me. As I myself am likewise full of the qualities of goodness, my superior intelligence, a personal connection to many influential citizens, I believe we are a most excellent match.
Are we?
Indeed, and so, Miss Elizabeth, I have come today to ask for your hand in marriage. You have nothing to fear, as I promise to never again mention your poverty and low status. My own position shall elevate you to something more acceptable. Shall we tell your mother the happy news of our engagement?
No.
No?
No, Mr. Collins. I'm very sorry, but I must decline your offer.
This is not some female game whereby you give the answer opposite to the one you intend.
It is not.
Oh.
A marriage, a proposal, an engagement. I must write to the neighbors at once. One daughter married.
Come on, please.
Tell me, Lizzie, what did you say to him?
I said no.
You said, I'm sorry, dear child, I believe I misheard you. It sounded as if you refused him.
I did refuse him.
We are ruined. I promise you, if you do not marry him, I shall never speak to you again.
I promise you, if you do marry him, that I shall never speak to you again.
Thank you, Papa.
Any fool could see that she would be unhappy as his wife.
I do not care if she is happy. I care if she is married.
Is something the matter?
The matter only that your sister has condemned me to my grave. She has refused Mr. Collins.
I see.
We must work even harder now to secure a proposal for Mr. Bingley.
As it happens, that is what I've come about.
We have gone to London and shan't return for several weeks at the minimum.
But the ball at Netherfield was a great success. Why would they leave so soon?
I cannot say, but I am sure they will return before winter.
You must be patient until then.
Autumn in London is wonderful, and it is so refreshing to be around people of one's own class. We have decided to stay here permanently and not return to Netherfield.
Oh!
Did you see this, Pop?
We have been spending a great deal of time with Miss Georgiana Darcy, and I must say how well she and Charles have been getting along. With Charles already such close friends with Mr. Darcy, it seems only natural to join our families together. I suspect there will be an announcement very soon.
He has truly given me up.
Miss Bingley must have influenced him. And Mr. Darcy as well. They have conspired together to drive Mr. Bingley away from you.
I know you do not care for Mr. Darcy, but certainly Miss Bingley would never do such a thing.
There is a knock on the door.
Good afternoon.
Charlotte, you have come at a perfect time. We have received some sad news and could use a friend at the moment. Please tell me you have something good to tell us.
I do, but I am afraid you may not like it.
I shall have to bear it then for the sake of my dear friend.
I am engaged to be married
Oh, that is wonderful news.
to Mr. Collins.
Mr. Collins.
He is a very important man, and his wife will be a very important woman. We will be very comfortable, and I hope happy.
You have not once mentioned the word love.
Not all marriages are fortunate enough to be built on such a foundation.
Cannot let you go through with this. This is not what you want.
Lizzie, she made her decision. Charlotte, please accept my congratulations.
Thank you, Jane. Eliza, I hope you will one day understand my decision. I am 27 years old with no dowry. I must be provided for, and I do not have the privilege of refusing a proposal when it is offered to me.
But Mr. Collins, you know what he is like.
I do. He may speak with more words than are necessary, and perhaps he elevates his position higher than it deserves, but he will be a good husband. This is what I want. You will not change my mind.
Then I will not try. But I cannot offer you congratulations.
Will you wish me well, at least?
Charlotte, of course. I wish you happiness and joy. I only wish you could have love in your marriage.
Perhaps one day I will. We are to be married in the new year and then return to his parsonage in Huntsford. Please, promise me you will visit.
I will. In the spring when you are settled.
Thank you, Eliza.
That was not altogether unexpected. They have been spending more time together since you refused him. And she was always very patient with Mr. Collins.
I could never marry without love, no matter how advantageous the match.
Then we shall hope for you to fall in love with a gentleman who loves you.
Jane, I am truly sorry about Mr. Bingley.
Thank you. I will recover. After all, it will be Christmas soon, and that's always such a joyous occasion.
Passage of time. The Bennets enter with Christmas decorations and parcels. Once everything is decorated, Mr. and Mrs. Gardner enter.
Oh, my dear brother, how happy to see you.
Happy Christmas.
Girls, come greet your aunt and uncle.
Jane, we have heard of your recent misfortune. London is full of excitement, never lacking for things to do or people to meet. Come with us. You may find you love it as much as we do.
Oh, that would be a blessing. I will happily return to London with you after the holiday.
Now, I do know that the Bingley family has made their residence there.
You have nothing to fear. I am aware that Mr. Bingley has given me up, but I believe I remain friends with his sister Caroline.
Very well. Then it is settled. Dear sister, we will be bringing sweet Jane with us to London when we return home after the season's festivities. I do hope she will not be so
terribly miss.
Oh, Jane, what shall we do without you?
We shall go to dinner
And dance balls and read novels.
All of the things we would do with her here.
Only we shall do them without her.
If only we could do them without you.
Jane, I shall miss you deeply.
Now, let us not become melancholy. It is Christmas. We must celebrate the holiday.
Quite agree. Join me for a toast for Christmas.
Christmas!
Early spring, Rosings Park.
Springtime is always beautiful at Rosings Park, don't you agree?
Yeah, it was very kind of Lady Catherine to allow me to join you. Do you like it here?
The countryside is lovely, and I've gotten to know many of the people here quite well. We've made friends, although I do miss you and your sisters greatly. How is everything at home?
Much the same. Jane has gone to stay in London with my aunt and uncle.
I fear you were correct in your assessment of Caroline Bingley. She had written to me as if we remained bonded together in friendship, and yet when I happened upon her in town, she appeared utterly indifferent. She is not, as you professed, a true friend.
I'm sorry to hear. And what of the others?
Mary is ever at the piano, but has yet to improve. Kitty and Lydia spend all of their time with the soldiers.
Lady Catherine enters.
Oh, Miss Bennet, I am exceedingly pleased to present Lady Catherine de Bourgh. I believe you may have heard her name mentioned a time or two. And now you have the highest fortune in being in her divine presence here in Rosings Park. Is it not magnificent? Lady Catherine, you are a wise and gracious host.
Your cousin tells me, Miss Bennet, that you are one of 5 daughters, and not a son amongst you. Pity. Where do you fall in the order of sisters?
I am the second eldest, Lady Catherine.
And how old are you?
Well, I'm younger than my elder sister, your ladyship, and older than my younger sister.
Do not be impertinent. Are you 18, 20, or older perhaps, 2 and 20? Or even 3?
Yes, Lady Catherine, my age is within the range you mentioned. I am not yet 21, your ladyship.
That need not have been such a difficult question to answer. Mrs. Collins, you must call someone out to examine the front door of the parsonage. One of the 3 hinges is decidedly looser than the others, and I should hate for the parsonage to deteriorate simply because the rector is married. Now, Mr. Collins.
Yes, I am at your service.
How long will your guest be staying?
Oh, Miss Bennet will be with us for several weeks, after which she will return home to Longbourn.
And then I will spend the summer with my relatives, Mr. and Mrs. Gardiner. That will be lovely.
Your visit shall overlap with my nephew, my late sister's only son. These are certain to be very lively weeks, with Miss Bennet already here, and the imminent arrival of Mr. Darcy.
Mr. Darcy?
Were you not aware, Miss Elizabeth, that Mr. Darcy was the nephew of my dear patroness?
I do not recall if he had mentioned it, although he speaks very little and reveals even less.
Well, then you shall have the pleasure to engage his conversation at length when he arrives next week.
How fortunate!
Miss Bennet.
I had not expected to see you here.
All right, you.
Is that all you have to say?
Would you like me to say more?
No, I should have tempered my expectations. I know you well enough to know what you are like.
And what am I like?
Sullen. You have never met a conversation you do not attempt to avoid. Why is that, Mr. Darcy? You come into a room full of friends and stay by yourself with the wall, eyes cast down and mouth frozen shut.
I'm not at ease in gatherings, so I prefer to do my conversing in small groups, where I have time and freedom to consider what I say before it spills out.
Lively addition to any party.
Miss Bennet?
Darcy returns to the others.
I take it you and my nephew are already known to one another?
He spent some time at Netherfield last year. We are acquainted.
He is a good and decent man. Just before Christmas, in fact, he rescued a friend from a bad match. I am told the friend had plans to propose to a young woman who seemed to be attracted to the money more than the man. For those in our position, this is a very real danger. Without Darcy's interference, it would have ended badly for his friend. A Mr. Bingley, I believe his name was, though I do not know the lady.
ladyship, I'm afraid I'm not feeling very well. Will you please excuse me?
Elizabeth exits. Outside the next morning, Elizabeth enters from one side, Darcy from the other. They stop. She tries to pass him, but he blocks her.
Miss Bennet,
Good morning, Mr. Darcy.
you are on your way to Rose's Hall.
I am.
I just got from there.
You will excuse me.
Wait, Miss Bennet. I want.
Elizabeth freezes.
You don't know what you want. You may think you do, but you are mistaken.
You are fortunate to have the freedom of wanting things.
What you want is not what I want, and therefore it is not what you want.
Stop this. Stop this. I am captivated by Miss Bennet. I must tell her of my feelings.
Feelings? Repress them at once.
She is no match for you. You must see that.
You will find another, just as you said I would.
Miss Bennet is the one I want.
And what of her family? You cannot have one without the other.
The elder Miss Bennet is lovely, but the younger girls.
And the mother. Let us not forget the mother.
We only want for you to make the right decision for the family.
And what about what I want?
Yes, brother. What about what you want?
Miss Bennet, I have struggled to repress my feelings, but it has been in vain. This will not do. I admire you, most ardently. You must allow me to tell you how ardently I love you. It is true your family background is an obstacle to overcome, and certainly I could not argue those who call you inferior. It is against my reason that I admire you, against my character that I desire you, and against my ability. I love you. It has been, despite all my best endeavors, impossible to conquer. I hope by your silence that you shall accept the offer of my hand in marriage.
Mr. Darcy.
Darcy freezes.
It is what we have been waiting for!
But Lizzie, you see, he's not so unpleasant after all.
For good fortune to have a husband with such a good fortune.
I say yes immediately.
Say yes. Say yes.
Say yes.
For heaven's sake, say yes!
You must say yes, Eliza. It is a privilege to be asked by such a gentleman.
Have you all forgotten how rude he has been in the past? How prideful and vain and snobbish? How could I accept a man like that?
By saying I accept.
You may not have this chance again. Do you want to be alone?
Perhaps he's not proud after all, but only protective of his feelings.
I've never met a man who speaks so passionately.
I've never met a man who feels so deeply. I've never met a man.
But how could he have felt such things without giving even a hint of them?
It doesn't matter.
Perhaps he's shy.
He loves you, Lizzie.
He loves you.
But you love him.
Mr. Darcy, as flattered as I am to hear of these very well-hidden feelings, I cannot accept. If I have at any point given you reason to believe I desired your good opinion, I assure you it was unconsciously done.
So I reject it. Might you perhaps wish to inform me as to why?
You claim to love and admire me, and yet you have deeply wounded me. Even in the midst of your declaration of love, of your proposal of marriage, you have found the means to insult me. Did you not profess that I am inferior to you? And yet, even then, perhaps I could have found a way to accept you had you not done that, which has hurt me more than any other action. Did you tell Mr. Bingley to leave Jane behind? My most beloved sister. You have ruined all chance of her happiness with a man she truly loved, who I believe loved her in return. How could I ever accept a man who would do such a thing?
I cannot deny what I have done in separating Mr. Bingley from your sister, but I do not take joy in the result. I was thinking only of my friend.
That is not all you have done to reveal your character to me. I know well enough what harm you have done to a certain Mr. Wickham.
You seem to be quite interested in Mr. Wickham.
You condemned him to poverty. You robbed him of any advantage he may have had. He has had no independence, no comfort, because of what you did to withhold the inheritance which was promised by your own father.
I must thank you.
For no reason but your own pride.
I must thank you, Miss Bennet, for laying out so plainly how you feel. Based on your estimation, I am most at fault. But was I meant to have behaved as though the inferiority of your connections brings me joy? It does not. I have loved you in spite of these things. Had you not been offended by my honesty, perhaps you would have accepted it.
I would not have. You could not have made me the offer of your hand in an impossible way that would have tempted me to accept it. I must tell you that within only a short time of knowing you, I became certain that you were the last man in the world whom I could ever be prevailed upon to marry.
That's said enough. I perfectly comprehend you. Forgive me. I've been taking up so much of your time. Good day.
Darcy exits. Elizabeth stares in shock. End of Act 1.
Please do not discard this letter for the sins of its writer. I shall not repeat any of what was said yesterday and consider that matter firmly in the past. However, your words to me in response demand that I must furnish you with the truth regarding the incidents of which you accuse me.
Darcy closes the letter. Elizabeth enters. He walks to her, presses the letter into her hand, and walks away.
It's wonderful to have you back at home, Lizzie.
I did separate your sister and Mr. Bingley. I cannot deny it. What I also cannot deny is that I was entirely unaware of her depth of feeling. Your sister is lovely, but also reserved. I could not allow Mr. Bingley to engage in marriage with a woman who seemed indifferent towards him. Now that I know the truth, I do heartily apologize for my interference.
And Jane, too. Oh, my sweet Jane.
As for Mr. Wickham, he was promised an inheritance by my father. That's where the truth ends in your version of the story. I did not withhold what he was owed. Rather, he refused to join the clergy, instead demanded a large sum of money in order to study the law and thus earn himself a higher place in society. As I am not as unkind as you believe me to be, I accepted and paid him £3,000.
I quite enjoyed being the elder sister for a while.
I trusted that he was using that sum to better himself, and yet he soon returned for a larger amount, having left his studies and gambled away the first payment. When I refused, he set his sights on my sister, Georgiana. Had I not acted in haste, he would have succeeded in eloping with her and squandering her dowry. She was a child, barely 15 years old, taken from the school by a man who claimed wished to marry her. And she, young and inexperienced in the world, believed him.
It was very quiet without you both here.
Although I acknowledge you owe me nothing, I pray you will give me the courtesy of trusting that I have told you the full truth of matters in this letter.
I'm glad to be home.
God bless you, Miss Earle.
Darcy exits. Elizabeth folds the letter and places it in the pocket of her book.
As am I. London was wonderful, but there's nothing like the comfort of being at home. Lizzie, our aunt and uncle mentioned that you will be traveling with them along the summer.
Mrs. Gardner grew up in Derbyshire. I'm sure she will have much insight into the villages and estates.
My brother certainly did make a good marriage. Mrs. Gardner has grown to be a close friend.
She was an excellent hostess. I feel blessed to have spent so many months with them both.
Mama, it's terrible.
What is it, my dear?
But also, it's wonderful.
Is it the regiment?
We must take our leave of the countryside very shortly. The regiment has been posted to Brighton.
We shall never see them again. Well, happy goodbye to Mr. Wickham.
Lizzie, I thought you liked him.
But wait, that is not all.
Mrs. Forster kindly requests the pleasure of your company on our trip, to join her as a special friend and enjoy the sights of Brighton during our posting.
Oh, Lydia, this is the perfect time to find a husband. Do ensure you pick one with a commission.
May I go?
Paul, you cannot be thinking of allowing this.
I see two choices before me, Lizzie. Either she goes with the regiment, where Mrs. Forster may watch over her, or she stays at home and we must listen to her wailings. Lydia, you may go.
Oh, you have made me the happiest I have ever been.
You must let me help you choose your ribbons.
Pray only that this excursion will be good for her. We must trust that Mrs. Forster will be exceedingly attentive and not allow Lydia the opportunity to cause us some embarrassments.
I suppose you want me to leave now too, is that it?
Oh, Lizzie, we are finally alone. I
posted your letter and gave me a note of his own. Examine for yourself this section here. See what he says about Mr. Wickham.
Do you believe him?
And looking back on the time I spent with him, yes, I find it easy to believe he would gamble and seek out a life of luxury without regard to honesty. It pains me to admit that perhaps my own prejudice against Mr. Darcy had led me to believe Mr. Wickham's report without questioning its validity.
And did you tell that to Mr. Darcy?
No. By the time I had read the letter and gone back to the house to speak with him, he had already left.
You seem almost sad at that fact.
I would like to apologize.
Perhaps you will see him again.
I fear I have ruined any chance at friendship with Mr. Darcy, but I no longer wish him any harm.
Your trip with the gardeners will be a welcome distraction, much as mine was. When do you leave?
And not until July. We still have a great deal of time before Aunt and Uncle arrive to collect me.
Summer. Mr. and Mrs. Gardner arrive and enter. Mr. and Mrs. Bennet.
Do you hear from Lydia very often?
Oh yes, she is beloved by Colonel and Miss Forrester.
That is good to hear. I admit feeling a sense of worry when I first heard of her journey.
And how is everything at home without her?
Quiet!
Do you all miss Lizzie very much?
I will not miss her at all if she returns with her husband.
I will not miss you as long as you enjoy the trip.
I will miss you terribly.
I do hope you enjoy the countryside.
You will be seeing a great deal of it.
The ride is very long.
But comfortable.
And what are the sights of Derbyshire?
I will begin by showing you the villages where I was a child.
And the assembly hall where we were first introduced.
Naturally. But it is the grand homes that will delight you the most.
I'm not very familiar with the estates of that part of the country.
The most magnificent, of course.
Is Pemberley.
Pemberley.
The home of the...
The Darcys.
Oh, that's right.
We had forgotten you were acquainted with the family.
With Mr. Darcy, yes, though I have not met his sister. Please, if it would not cause offence, I would desire to not visit Pemberley on this tour. You may go if you like, but I prefer to remain in town that day.
You would not like to see your friend?
We do not get along with each other. I am afraid it would only make your time there uncomfortable.
Well, it will please you to know that the Darcys are not at home.
They spend very little time at Pemberley during the summers.
Then, with that, I can say I will be very delighted to accompany you to
Pemberley!
The grand estate appears around them.
You mean to say the Darcys live here?
They do.
And from what I hear, they are beloved in the town.
It is magnificent.
Good morning. I'm Mrs. Reynolds, the housekeeper here at Pemberley.
What an incredible estate.
As befitting an incredible family, the Darcys are very gracious employers. I should never mention this to Mr. Darcy, but I would continue in their employ even if I were not paid for it. That is how good they are.
That is a compliment indeed.
Sir Darcy and Lady Anne were very decent people. And Mr. Darcy and Miss Georgiana have exceeded all the goodness shown by their late parents. I have never known any two individuals more gracious. Mr. Darcy is the best landlord and master I have known. He is exceedingly kind.
Would you agree with that?
I have known Mr. Darcy to exhibit kindness towards those he considers his friends. Yes.
It is only a shame that the gentleman is not in at present, though I do expect him to return tomorrow.
A pity. Our niece
Miss Elizabeth.
is acquainted with you.
I shall tell him you visited.
Please don't. I mean no offense, but I should not like for him to know that I was here while he was away.
Very well. Take your time through the house. There is much to see.
Mrs. Reynolds exits. Mr. and Mrs. Gardner and Elizabeth toward the house. As they leave, Darcy enters, nearly colliding with them.
Pardon me. Miss Bennet, I had not known you'd be visiting Pemberley.
I was, Oh, do excuse me, Mr. and Mrs. Gardner, please allow me to present Mr. Darcy, my aunt and uncle, Mr. Darcy.
You are most welcome here. Have you only just arrived?
No, we were on our way out. Mrs. Reynolds gave us a lovely tour.
We do so appreciate Mrs. Reynolds. Tell me, will you all be in Derbyshire for very long?
Not very, though we do hope to visit several more estates before our niece returns home to Longbourn.
You must allow me, Miss Bennet, to introduce you to Miss Georgiana, my sister, while you are here.
Very well.
Miss Georgiana would so love to meet you. Will you all come tomorrow afternoon?
You are too kind, Mr. Darcy.
We shall be delighted.
And I shall be delighted to have you. Please, enjoy the grounds, Miss Bennet.
Mr. Darcy was trying to impress.
He scarcely took his eyes off her.
I did spy some marks of love in you, if I'm not mistaken.
I do not believe you are. Have to observe his behavior tomorrow with the sheriff.
So lovely to see you 2 days in a row.
As it happens, we met with Mr. Darcy as we left, and he extended a personal invitation.
He's most anxious for Miss Elizabeth to meet Miss Georgiana. In fact, he has spoken of little else all morning. Please come in. I will send up some tea.
That sounds interesting.
Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Gardner. Miss Bennett, I am pleased, very pleased to see you all again at Pemberley.
We are most grateful for the invitation.
Think nothing of it. It is my pleasure. Miss Bennett, may I introduce you to my sister, Miss Georgiana?
Good afternoon, Miss Elizabeth. Good afternoon. She is even prettier than you said.
Georgiana, why don't you play us something?
Georgiana sits at the piano and begins to play. She plays beautifully.
I thought that perhaps you would enjoy music from someone other than your middle sister.
One could hardly call that music. Mr. Darcy, I believe that is the first time I have heard you laugh. On the contrary, my brother laughs often and loudly. He has a wicked sense of humor and is always making jokes with me when I am feeling low. Is that so? Oh, yes.
Georgiana, you must not reveal too much of my nature. How shall I preserve my reputation of a proud and solid figure if you say too much?
I shall save some for later then, when Miss Elizabeth and I are better friends. I do hope we will be friends, Miss Elizabeth. We will. I'm so glad. I shall play a happier tune now to show how my heart is dancing.
Feel as though we should be dancing.
As do I. Ah, very nice, Georgiana.
I think I should like some of that tea that Mrs. Reynolds mentioned. If you will join me, my dear.
Know that I am not young anymore, and my vision is not what it once was, but even a blind man can see plainly that he is in love with our niece.
The question, however, is whether she returns his love.
That part is less clear.
Elizabeth sits beside Georgiana and they play a duet. Time passes. Bingley and Caroline enter.
It was such a surprise, Miss Elizabeth, to hear that you were visiting Pemberley.
Indeed, we had not expected to see very much of the Bennet family.
Oh, it was purely by chance, I assure you, that my aunt and uncle came upon Mr. Darcy. We had believed him to be out of town at the time.
I am glad that I was not, otherwise I would not have had the pleasure of your company during this week.
And I would not have had the pleasure of your friendship.
Tell me, Miss Elizabeth, how are things at Longbourn? I've heard rumors of your younger sister's attachment to the local regiment. Though, to be frank, I cannot say I'm surprised, given the nature of your family background, that she would be seeking an escape to somewhere far from home.
My sister Lydia is a great student of geography and has welcomed the opportunity to see a new area of the country as the personal friend of Mrs. Forster.
And your other sisters, are they well?
They are. Kitty is no longer hidden in Lydia's shadow, and Mary remains hard at work with her music.
And
Jane is also well.
I'm so glad to hear it.
She will be delighted to hear that you asked after her.
Will she? Will she really?
Miss Elizabeth, are you feeling quite well? You look pale, though it may just be the northern air. You are better suited to the south. The climate here at Pemberley does you no favors. Although I do recall that when we first met, we were all shocked upon seeing you, as we had previously heard rumors of your beauty. It was Mr. Darcy, in fact, who first remarked upon the great divide between rumor and reality.
That may have been very true, Miss Bingley, for but a moment. After the benefit of knowing Miss Bennet for all these many months, I can confidently say that she is one of the most handsome women I know.
Is she now?
Second only to one, in fact.
And who would that be?
Second only to Miss Georgiana Darcy.
Mr. Darcy, it's been very kind of you to invite us to your home so often.
It is a very large home. It feels quite empty with only the two of us here.
You were quite right, brother, when you said that Miss Elizabeth and I would be great friends. I find your sister altogether more charming than you.
I would agree with that assessment entirely. She is the superior Darcy.
Pardon me. Letter from Mr. Gardner. They said it was urgent.
Good heavens, I am terribly sorry, Mr. Darcy, but we must speak at once. My brother-in-law calls to me to meet him in London most urgently.
I do hope it is nothing serious.
Elizabeth, we are grateful for your hospitality, Mr. Darcy.
If you are ever again in Derbyshire, please do not hesitate to call.
Of course.
We shall send for you once the carriage is ready. It won't be long.
Miss Elizabeth, may I be of some assistance?
No, I'm afraid you cannot. It is too terrible.
What is it? What has happened?
Lydia, she has run off with Mr. Wickham. And with what I know of his character, I fear for the worst.
This could have been prevented had I but spoken the truth of Wickham when he first appeared.
You could never have known.
What may I do, please? You must allow me to help in some way.
There's nothing. 5 daughters, no inheritance, and now this scandal. Oh, we are ruined.
She begins to cry. He reaches for her. Mrs. Reynolds enters.
Miss Bennet, the carriage is ready.
Pardon me, Mr. Darcy.
Darcy stands alone as Pemberley disappears around him. Elizabeth and Mr. and Mrs. Gardner are on their way home.
I am told your father has already left for London, and there is no time to waste. Once we arrive at Longbourn, I will not be able to stay, but must be on my way immediately.
Mamma will understand.
We must hope only that they are married.
He would never agree to marry a girl with no fortune.
But why did you run away with him if not with the intention of marriage?
Lydia might have been lured with the promise of marriage, not knowing that there was no intention behind the promise. That is well within Mr. Wickham's character.
Your poor mother.
You must write to Mr. Darcy and apologize for our hasty departure.
He was a most gracious host.
I would very much hate to leave things with him on a sour note.
He was very kind. Do you not agree, Elizabeth?
I do. Though he is much changed since our last meeting.
Perhaps he is more at ease in his own home.
Perhaps. But it doesn't matter. I doubt we shall be in Mr. Darcy's company again, not with Lydia's scandal hanging over us. A gentleman like Mr. Darcy would never be seen with us now.
They arrive at Longbourn, and the sisters come forward.
Oh, Lizzie, it is terrible.
Terrible.
She didn't tell me that this is what she was planning. She usually tells me everything.
Where's Mama?
Sleeping.
She's not sleeping. She's merely unable to rouse herself from bed.
I shall tend to her.
Papa's in London, but we have no word from him. We do not know what's happening, whether or not he has located Lydia, whether or not she's married.
I will write immediately upon my arrival. I hope we will have news for you soon.
Mrs. and Mr. Gardner exit in different directions.
It could be weeks before we hear from him. And in the meantime, we can do nothing but wait.
Wait. Mr. Bennet enters.
Papa, have you found her?
I have not. Your uncle will continue to search and has promised he will not rest until she is found and married. And we put this whole incident behind us. Truly, I should have kept her at home.
She may have snuck away even then.
Poor Lydia.
Poor Lydia. Poor us. No one's gonna ever want to marry us now.
My brother writes, Mr. Gardner has written, your uncle has sent a letter. Oh, what shall we do?
Has he found her, Mama?
I cannot bear to open it.
I will do it. She has been found.
Oh, praise God.
Mr. Wickham has agreed to marry her in exchange for payment in full of all of his outstanding debts.
And a small yearly stipend for Lydia.
That's good, isn't it?
I shall discuss the precise sum when I return, but you may rest assured that it is quite reasonable.
That is good.
After the wedding, Mr. Wickham has secured a posting in the north where he and Lydia will live.
That is very good.
We will be on our way very shortly.
Married! Married, oh girl, and married!
Please calm yourself. That would hardly describe this as a happy occasion.
We must buy her a new dress.
Yes, Kitty, finally one of my daughters is making sense.
I must find the perfect song to celebrate their marriage.
Do what you like, Mary. Come, Kitty, you must tell the neighbors.
I cannot imagine how much of his own money Mr. Gardner must have given him. Were he family, I would be relieved of the burden of repayment, but since he's only family by marriage, I fear I shall have to find the sum and return it to him. Please excuse me, I must rest. You should do the same.
They exit. Lydia and Wickham enter.
One daughter, married.
Lydia, you must tell me every detail of the wedding.
Was there music?
Was there dancing?
Who played?
Were there soldiers there?
Reynolds, please, do calm yourselves. Dearest George, you must recall how I said we should be pressed with questions upon our arrival. Oh, sisters, to think that I, the youngest of you, am now the most it is my duty to set a good example for my sisters. Isn't that right, George?
Yes.
Husband. You see, girls, it is so lovely to have a husband of one's own. I hope and pray that you may soon experience this happiness for yourselves. Especially you, Jane. You are getting old, after all. Many of the most eligible men will not look fondly upon a girl whose younger sister has married before her.
Of course, Lydia. You are so wise to think so, and so kind to pray for me.
Lydia has always been such a kind girl.
Mama, I'm a wife now. I'm no longer a child.
Oh, sweet Lydia.
Papa, you've been very quiet. Do you not wish to offer congratulations to my husband?
Congratulations, Mr. Wickham.
Thank you.
I have congratulated your husband, Lydia. May I return to my study?
Very well, Papa. You must. Oh, George, you look parched. Sisters, would you help accompany me by preparing my husband's refreshment? Of course, Lydia. You too, Jane. It will do well for you to learn from a young wife.
That is such a generous offer, Lydia.
Oh, Mr. Wickham, we are very grateful to have you in our family.
Thank you.
Can I get you anything?
No, thank you.
It is no trouble, I assure
I
you.
require nothing.
Anything.
Mamma! Mr. Wickham has said he does not require anything at the moment.
Very well. Perhaps I should go check on Lydia.
I suppose I am to congratulate you.
I suppose you are.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Why so cold? I seem to recall it was not that long ago that we were very close indeed.
You are correct. However, that was before I learned of your character.
My character?
Yes. That story you gave about being mistreated by Mr. Darcy was not entirely correct. I know the truth, Mr. Wickham. It has greatly changed my opinion. But I shall not use it against you. If we are to be family, we must be friends first.
How gracious of you.
Lydia, Kitty, and Jane return with tea. Mrs. Bennet follows, fussing over them.
Do take care with those, Lydia. Place them on the table.
Mama, I do not need your instruction. A wife knows how to serve her husband.
Well, Jane, do you feel educated on what is needed of a wife?
I should never have learned without my dear youngest sister's advice.
Oh, sisters, you must feel very sad to be without husbands. Is it difficult to see me married?
Jane, will you join us for a moment?
Pardon me.
I am pleased for you, Lydia, and I hope you will have a happy marriage.
That is so kind of you to say. I wish you could have attended the wedding. It was lovely, but very small. Only Aunt and Uncle Gardner, Mr. Darcy, and the minister, of course.
Mr. Darcy?
Oh, I should not have said he was there. He did swear us to secrecy. Ah, well, I suppose what's done is done.
Why was he at your wedding?
I presume he wanted to celebrate with us. It is well known that Mr. Wickham and I are beloved by many.
Is it?
Of course. Now, if you will excuse me, I must attend to my husband.
Elizabeth takes out paper and pen.
Dearest aunt and uncle, Lydia and Mr. Wickham have returned home for a short time before they go to his new post. But now a question has arisen within me, and I must speak frankly with you. Lydia has inadvertently revealed that Mr. Darcy was a guest at her wedding. Why was he there?
I cannot tell you how pleased I am that you've been told of Mr. Darcy's presence. It pained me to keep the secret, but
He made each of us swear not to tell anyone.
now I can be comfortable in revealing to you that it was not simply a guest.
But the architect of the whole affair.
It was not your uncle who located Lydia. It was not your uncle who provided funds for the wedding. It was not your uncle who persuaded Mr. Wickham to approve the marriage.
All of these and more were Mr. Darcy.
It was he who found him in London, hired the minister, and paid all of Mr. Wickham's substantial debts in order that he might marry your sister.
And not only that, but he purchased for Mr. Wickham a very important commission.
Your sister will be provided for.
And Mr. Wickham's career will be more lucrative than he could have achieved on his own.
All this due solely to Mr. Darcy.
And yet, he was insistent that none of your family should ever be made aware of his interference.
I am quite sure I cannot give a reason for this secrecy, although I do have a suspicion.
I hope this has lightened your heart, Elizabeth, and brings you comfort and ease.
Goodbye, Mama. Goodbye, Kitty. I do hope you will not miss me too terribly much.
Oh, can you stay just a few
expecting me, and I am an officer now and must join my soldiers.
Goodbye, Mama. Goodbye, sisters.
Well, we shall all miss Lydia terribly, but the world continues onward. Now, Jane, I have received word that Mr. Bingley has returned to Netherfield. You must go and welcome him.
I wish him well, Mamma, but I am quite sure that my presence in Mr. Bingley's life is in the past.
Do you not care that he is within 3 miles of this house?
I do not. I am unaffected by his presence.
Are you really?
Mary plays a song as a wordless theme unfolds. Bingley enters, greeted warmly by Mrs. Bennet. Jane, light, regarded. Darcy enters. Elizabeth stiffens as she greets him. He is indifferent. Jane and Bingley visit with each other, then the men exit. Jane and Mrs. Bennet are joyful. Elizabeth sad. The song ends. Mary exits.
Oh, Jane, surely Mr. Bingley would not have visited you so often if he did not have feelings for you.
He has been very friendly.
I believe he still loves you, Jane, just as much as you love him.
It is plain to see. If only he hadn't brought that horrid Mr. Darcy with him. What an ill-tempered man.
Mamma, you must not say such things.
And why not? Were you not the one who professed him to be proud? That man is not welcome in my home. He has done nothing for this family.
Perhaps he has. It may be possible that he is good at heart, but only in secret.
Men of his station do their good deeds for the sole benefit of being seen, never in secret. I hope he does not return. Mr. Bingley must come alone, Jane. You may have a proposal before long.
It is too much to hope for.
I shall tell Mr. Bennet to prepare for another wedding.
No, Mamma.
You must let her go, Jane. You know how she is when she has a project on which to give her attention.
I do. But there is another matter that demands attention. Mr. Darcy. When he first arrived with Mr. Bingley, I saw you light up with joy, only to be turned to sorrow when he behaved as he behaved at every other occasion. You cannot hide from me. What is it?
He is the one who found Lydia and paid Mr. Wickham to go through with the wedding. I thought that meant that he was prepared to overlook our lack of riches and manners. But then he arrived here with Mr. Bingley, and you have seen how he acted.
I don't understand.
Mr. Darcy will never marry into a family of which Mr. Wickham is a member.
Marriage? Lizzie, you refused him. You said he was the last man on earth you could ever marry.
I did, but I judged him too harshly. Oh, you should have seen him in Pemberley. He had no pride about him, no ill manner or sullen moods. And then to take such pains to give Lydia's marriage both legitimacy and income, and to do so in secret. For what reason other than kindness?
You speak as if you love him.
And now my chances are ruined. He has made it clear that he has utterly forgotten any feelings he once had towards me. You heard him yourself once say that his good opinion, once lost, is lost forever.
I had no idea you felt this way. I'm so sorry.
No, you mustn't be. We should learn from Mamma and turn our attentions towards Mr. Bingley.
Oh! Good things are happening as we speak. What is it? It is Mr. Bingley, your father. I shall throttle him when I see him later for keeping it from me. Received a letter from Mr. Bingley requesting a private appointment with him. They were at this moment in his study. Come, Jane, we shall position you in the other room so you are the first thing he sees when he conducts his business. Lizzie, you remain here. We cannot interfere whatsoever.
Mrs. Bennet and Jane exit. Elizabeth is left alone. After a moment, Mrs. Bennet is heard shrieking. Jane enters quietly.
Lizzie.
Are you?
I am. Mr. Bingley has asked me to marry him and I have accepted. Oh, I've never been so happy.
Oh, a truly joyous occasion. You have much to celebrate.
Mr. Bennet enters with Bingley.
Your mother and sisters have gone to tell all the neighbours. I congratulate you both.
I am so happy for you. I had thought I would never see this day.
Nor I. I am so very happy.
Not half so happy as I, Miss Bennet. I must confess, I had also not foreseen this day. My sister was quite content for me to move on to another. But it was in fact Mr. Darcy who persuaded me to return to Longbourn and call on you. It was he who said that perhaps your feelings might be as they were last year, and that we may still find our happiness together.
Mr. Darcy said that.
Indeed he did. He is a most excellent friend.
I'm very glad to hear it. We owe Mr. Darcy a great deal, do we not, Lizzie?
We do.
Shall we go into town, Miss Bennet? If your mother is true to her word, then surely the entire county has heard the news and is waiting to congratulate us.
I think that would be very pleasant. Lizzie, will you join us?
No, thank you, but I am very, very happy for you both.
A new day, early morning. The door bursts open and Mrs. Bennet enters and rushes to the window.
You see, Papa? It's right up there. It's like no carriage I've ever seen.
I cannot imagine who has such grand transportation.
The door is opening.
Who is that? Whoever she is, she looks very rich.
Elizabeth goes to the window.
What can she be doing here?
Lizzie, you know this woman?
We all do, in a way, or rather know of her. That is Lady Catherine de Bourgh.
The sound of the door opening and closing.
I must speak with Miss Bennet. Miss Elizabeth Bennet.
Your ladyship, we welcome you to Longbourn.
These are your daughters?
Oh yes, our middle girls, Mary and Kitty. Our eldest, Jane, is out walking with Mr. Bingley. I believe you may know him. They have been engaged for several weeks and will be married before long. And our youngest, Lydia, married already. Do you believe it? Already married and only 15 years old.
Miss Bennet, walk the grounds with me. I have a matter of great importance to discuss.
Of course, Lady Catherine.
Outdoors.
I do wish you had written that you were coming. We could have been more gracious hosts to you.
There is no time to write. My task is too important. A rumor has made its way to my ear, and now you must tell me immediately that you are not engaged to my nephew, Mr. Darcy.
Engaged?
It is simply impossible for it to be true, and I must have your word that it is not.
If it is impossible, I wonder that you travelled here so hastily to inquire about it. A truly impossible scenario, I think, would be simply ignored without any effort to confirm.
You will mind who you are speaking to. Mr. Darcy has been intended for my daughter since they were children, and he will not be taken from me.
No, I hardly think he could be taken. He is a grown man with his own whims.
And are you one of those whims?
Lady Catherine, I must remind you that you are in my home. I will not be insulted.
And nor will I. For this engagement, if this engagement is true, then it is a grave insult to me, to my home and to my family. You will tell me at once, has he made you an offer?
Your ladyship has deemed it impossible.
You cannot mean to say you, a worthless girl of inferior birth, intend to marry Mr. Darcy.
If the nature of my family does not offend Mr. Darcy, then it should not offend you.
Everything about you offends me. Stop this speaking in circles. And answer, are you engaged to him?
I am not.
And will you promise me that you will never become engaged to him?
I will make no such promise.
Is this what I have to look forward to? Are the shades of Pemberley to be thus polluted?
If you have quite finished insulting me, I will return to the house.
Are you resolved to have him there?
I am resolved to nothing, and whatever I do resolve myself to will be wholly without your interference. Good morning, Lady Catherine.
I will not wish you good morning. I will not bid your family goodbye. I take no leave of you nor send any compliments to your mother. You deserve none of it. I am most seriously displeased.
Lady Catherine exits. Elizabeth walks to a different part of the grounds where she finds Mr. Bennet sitting on a bench reading the letter.
I've received a most humorous letter from our cousin, Mr. Collins. It seems that he has spoken with Lady Catherine de Bourgh after her visit here last week and come to some very amusing conclusions.
Is that so?
Indeed, once I tell you what he says, you will laugh and laugh. Listen to this.
My esteemed patroness, Lady Catherine de Bourgh, claims that the elder Miss Bennet is not the only of your daughters destined for the altar. In fact, she believes that Miss Elizabeth will also soon be married.
How amusing, no? To think you could be engaged secretly without any of us knowing. We will collapse in laughter upon hearing the man Mr. Collins believes has attached himself to you.
Lady Catherine de Bourgh is very much against the marriage, and therefore I am as well. I urge you, cousin, do not permit Miss Elizabeth to marry the gentleman.
Have you any guess?
I do not.
You must not allow Miss Elizabeth to marry Mr. Darcy.
Mr. Darcy!
Lest you incur Lady Catherine de Bourgh's outrage.
Can you imagine such a notion? Can you, Lizzie?
I dare not allow myself to imagine it.
Lizzie, you're not laughing. You must be tired. Shall we go back to the house?
I should like that.
As they move to exit, Bingley, Darcy, and Jane appear before them.
Aha, it seems we have visitors. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon. I was hoping to walk the grounds with Miss Bennet. It is lovely this time of year.
Would you care to join us, Lizzie?
Oh, no, I could not.
Please come.
Very well.
Mr. Bennet exits. Bingley and Jane walk ahead, then exit. Darcy and Elizabeth veer in another direction.
Mr. Darcy, you must allow me to thank you.
It's not necessary.
My aunt has revealed that you were the cause of Lydia's marriage, and the payer of Mr. Wickham's debts, as well as purchaser of his commission. Please, on behalf of my family, you have our sincere gratitude.
I did not do it for your family. Forgive me if I speak out of turn, but I was thinking solely of you. I will not take advantage of your good manners. If your thanks come solely of politeness, then I accept them. But I must ask you, if your feelings are still where they were last April, tell me so at once. My own affections and wishes are unchanged, but if one word from you, I shall silence them forever. You have no response.
I do not wish to silence you.
What do you say?
Mr. Darcy, if you believe my feelings to be unchanged from last spring, then you're wrong. Sorely, deeply wrong. My feelings have changed so materially that I cannot believe I ever once felt them.
Miss Bennet, you are very dear to me. I consider you wholly important. I am ashamed of the way I spoke to you that day. By right, you had every reason to refuse me after the way I spoke.
You were so different, Emily. You must have hated me for appearing without warning.
Hated you? That is an impossible statement. I have never and could never hate you. When I saw you at Pemberley, I thanked the Lord for giving me a chance to show you how I could change. I yearned to show you my friendship and have you understand that I had learned from your refusal.
And when was it that you realized in yourself a desire to exceed the bounds of friendship?
It was a very long time. A full 5 minutes, at least. Perhaps as many as 10.
Oh, look, there's that love. You must take care a woman could easily fall in love with such a love.
Could you?
Why did you come here today?
I had a conversation with my aunt.
Ah,
She informed me of your meeting last week.
you must have been appalled at my behavior.
On the contrary, it gave me a feeling that I had not felt in a very long time.
What is that?
Hope. I know you well enough to know that you would have no trouble vowing to never undertake the action of which she accused you. If I was still, as he once told me, the last man in the world whom you could be prevailed on to marry, then it should have been quite easy to tell her so, and yet you did not.
I did not.
And so I have come here to see for myself whether my hope was in vain. Is it in vain, or do I have reason to hope? Tell me instead, for you hold gripped in suspense. Hold me gripped in suspense in the palm of your hand.
Elizabeth takes his hand, palm to palm.
His hand?
She slowly guides his hand to her face and kisses it.
There is more than hope in this hand.
If I ask again the question I posed to you a year ago, what shall your answer be?
You will discover my answer when you ask the question a second time.
Miss Bennet, will you be my wife?
I will.
I thought you hated him. She is not good enough for you.
You said he was proud.
Her family will be an embarrassment.
At least he's very rich.
This will not please Lady Catherine.
This does not please me.
I can forget every foul word that was ever uttered against the man, for now I have seen his income, and I have heard his estate, and all of these will surely erase any trace of displeasure I once had toward him.
I will support your decision for all of the support you have given me. Had you not encouraged me, I should never have returned to the woman I love.
I am so happy for you.
I am so happy for you.
Are you happy?
Are you happy?
I had believed you to be indifferent to the man. Have you accepted him only owing to his wealth and high station? Lizzie, I urge you not to do it for such reasons alone.
I love him.
I am happy.
I am happy.
I love her.
Darcy and Elizabeth turn back to each other. They hold hands, maybe they